2022 is behind us, and the WWE has left us with perhaps the most anticipated SmackDown of the entire year. We're going to break into it and see if it overpromised or underdelivered. My name is Jay Solo. Sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. This is the show. Oh, and for you regular listeners, we are typically a two-man operation. Tyson is out doing the family thing. Hopefully we'll be back to full strength next week. So right out of the gate, Bray Wyatt comes out to do another promo with mood lighting. Says he doesn't think of himself as a good person. But when he looks back at all the horrible things he's done, he does regret attacking and putting the mandible claw on the cameraman. LA Knight then interrupts the apology. Apparently he still holds Wyatt responsible for the attacks despite Howdy showing up. He then challenges him to a match at the Royal Rumble. And we find out later on this evening that the match will be a pitch black match. This is the first time Wyatt's wrestled for the WWE. He gets some weird little stipulation match. Can't he just wrestle like a normal match? Is it too hard to ask? He then says maybe it's time to show LA Knight and everybody else how cruel he is when he feels like it, and then accepts the match. Uncle Howdy comes out unnecessarily slowly. It seems to be the trend where everybody has a 30-minute entrance. Everybody in the little Wyatt sphere is going to have their own little special door to come out of, so it's nice and mystical. I don't know. Uncle Howdy has the superior theme to Wyatt. Wyatt's theme has gotten old really quick. So Howdy comes out, he stares down LA Knight, then he stares down Bray Wyatt, and then he stands beside Wyatt. And LA Knight has this face where he's like, of course, I knew it. You both are into cahoots. Nobody says anything, and then Howdy gives Wyatt a Sister Abigail. LA Knight then runs away confused. I know we're going with long-term storytelling here, but these little choppy segments are getting really old. It feels like nothing is happening, except a couple of dudes who'd like to cosplay as Slipknot. It's great that they get to live out their fantasy, but I wish we could see some wrestling. But like the Bloodline, they're doing short little choppy segments too, but at least they're wrestling and something's being advanced with them. LA Knight isn't being done any favors either. He looks like he's just a stepping stone as opposed to a legitimate threat. Does anybody believe that he has a chance against Wyatt? Because I certainly don't. Tyson and I talked last week about mostly Tyson. He mentioned that there's a rumor Howdy and Wyatt might have a WrestleMania match, kind of like the Undertaker versus Undertaker. This kind of gives more validity to that, and God help us all for it. We then cut to backstage. Sami Zayn is knocking on the Bloodline's door. Paul Heyman, of course, answers it. He praises Sami's loyalty to the Bloodline. Also praises his smack-talking of Cena and Owens last SmackDown. And he says that Roman's proud of Zayn. He then goes on to plant the seed of doubt. I do love the seeds of doubt, especially with this storyline. He says that Sami Zayn's standing next to Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, and the fans are chanting his name. It's not a good look. Of course, Sami's, a little worried, like, did he say something? And Heyman says, no, of course he didn't say anything. They just kind of moved past that. I think the Bloodline story is continuing to be the most compelling. I think it's great that they can tell a good story. They can feed us little bits of the story, and they can continue to progress as slowly or as fast as they want to, and none of them have to wear a mask. So I think that's great. I like the subtlety, making the rift between Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. I think it's believable that Roman would be jealous that somebody, especially Sami, who one isn't really part of the Bloodline, two, right, as of this moment, he's an honorary ooze. I can see somebody of Roman's stature getting jealous, being overlooked by somebody that he views as not as talented or not at his level. I look forward to seeing where they go with this. I hope they don't rush it. And I know, I don't know, but my belief is that the end goal is to ultimately get to Zayn and Owens in a tag team match versus the Usos, but hopefully they got something a little bit more worthy of a payoff than just a tag team match. I don't know. That doesn't sound worth it to me, but we'll see. And finally, we get our first official match of the evening. We get Sheamus coming out of, well, whatever, wherever he went, versus Sikoa Joe. Sheamus coming back means we get to see Mouthpiece McFingerbang, the most boring and uninteresting wrestler that's ever graced the squared circle. The match started off pretty typical. Both showed their strength early on. They've both found ways to do that little shoulder tackle deal where they collide into each other, but they hardly move. Typical big man stuff. They had a nice little back and forth. Finally, Sheamus got the upper hand by clotheslining Sikoa Joe out of the ring. Caused Joe to lose his shit. He starts to grab a chair. There was a great spot where Sheamus had Joe in the Texas Cloverleaf, and Joe was crawling to the ropes, and then Jay just out of nowhere, he starts shaking the bottom rope, which causes the ref to start yelling at him. And behind them, Jimmy pulls Sikoa Joe to the bottom rope to break the hold. Chef's kiss. That was a great spot. It's nice, the little subtle things like that. The nice little touches. They're cheating to win, and it's believable. It's not some phony bullshit. So then a brawl ensues. The Usos beat up everyone. Super kick Mouthpiece McFingerbang because he's useless. Sheamus then dives onto everybody from the top rope. Sikoa Joe throws Sheamus into the ring post, hits a rock bottom on the ring apron, and then throws him into the ring. Hits him with a Samoan spike. Gets 1, 2, 3. At the end of the match, the Usos beat up everybody again. Super kick McFingerbang again because again he's useless. Then McIntyre comes out. Drew McIntyre. He comes out to clean house. I don't know how I feel about him coming back. I was kind of enjoying him being away for a while. This was way better than it had a right to be. Thankfully, it was short, and we're going to see it multiple times. So, yeah. Next up, we have Ronda Rousey versus Raquel Rodriguez. And I personally waited until they got a close-up of Ronda without her robe on, and then I just skipped right to the end. And then we find out that Ronda beat Rodriguez, and then Charlotte Flair's music plays, and I think Charlotte comes out. It was really hard for me to tell because she mutilated the fuck out of her face. So she gets the mic and for some reason thinks she's owed a title shot. Ronda then says she's feeling spicy. She was really bad on the mic. Ronda was awful. It seemed like every line that she had, she messed up. She's always been bad, but it's been extra tonight. So Charlotte immediately hits Ronda with a big boot. Gets a 2 count. Charlotte then hits a big boot on Baszler. Charlotte then goes and hits a spear on Rousey, who then turns it into an armbar, which then Charlotte turns it into like a little roll-up pin for the 1, 2, 3. And there was a nice little touch where Charlotte was holding Ronda's tights because, she's Ric Flair, the dirtiest player in the game, blah, blah, blah. So, nice little touch. I'm not a fan of the hot potato title changes like this. It kind of diminishes everything Ronda did up to this point, and it diminishes the title, more importantly. And I know Ronda sucks. I'm not going to defend her or say that she should still be champion. I just think that they could have made a little bit of money building to this match. They could have done it a better way. It just seems like they didn't have a better way to get Charlotte the belt, and she immediately needed it. Okay, and then we get a few backstage segments. First off, we get the Bloodline backstage again. Sammy just straight up asks Roman if it bothers him that the crowd chants his name. I think it's worth watching just for Heyman and Roman's facial expressions. They're both amazing. I wish they would focus on the lower storylines with just like a quarter of as much detail as they do with the main event storyline. So then we jump to another segment. Dominique Mysterio and Ripley are doing another home invasion. In case you missed it, on Thanksgiving Day, Ripley and Dominique visited Rey Mysterio at home, and they assaulted him and beat him up with picture frames. Well, they did the same thing. Only difference is Rey was waiting for him. Ripley gets smacked by Rey's wife, and then Dominique gets arrested. I lost interest when I saw who was in it. This storyline is going nowhere with me. Then we cut to another segment where the entire locker room is shitting on Top Dollar, for his botch. And everyone is taking turns digging into him until Ricochet goes way too far by saying that he makes it look easy. Top Dollar then attacks Ricochet and then leaves. I hope you are as excited for the Ricochet Top Dollar match as I am. So after all that nonsense, we cut to Imperium. It's a shame that we've had to wait this long for them to come out, since this is supposed to be the biggest SmackDown of the year. They essentially came out to talk about how awesome Gunther is, and then they showed a video package of all the people that Gunther's beaten. Strowman then comes out with his little wet blanket and his nipple rings. He says maybe there isn't a man who can defeat you, but what about a monster? I bet his nipples got hard. Gunther then kind of laughs it off and starts to walk away, and then Braun lays out Imperium. Then he goes for his stupid Strowman Express. But when he gets to Gunther sidesteps him and throws him into the barricade, which was great. So then Imperium attacks him. They hit him with a couple chair shots. Gunther gets him in this arm lock and holds it for quite a while, long enough for a bunch of officials to come out and try to get Gunther to release the hold. And then Ricochet comes out with a chair, takes out Kaiser, and then takes out the other guy. That was pretty much it for the action. There was a moment where he swung the chair at Gunther, and it looks like he legit hit him in the head. At least for Ricochet's sake, I hope their best wrestler is okay. I can't say that I'm looking forward to the Strowman-Gunther match. I know Gunther hasn't had the most quality opponents, but Strowman is definitely a step down at this point. And keep in mind, Strowman did lose to Ricochet, who Gunther has beaten twice. So I don't even know why this is supposed to be a thing. I don't know why Gunther would run away from Strowman, especially since Ricochet didn't. They build up some things really, really well, and then some things it's like they've never been there before. And this seems to be on one of those storylines that are the latter. If anybody can make it work, it's Gunther, because he's fantastic. And that finally brings us to our main event of the evening. Again, that is Kevin Owens and John Cena versus Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. Now, right off the bat, I noticed that Cena does not look right with the haircut. He needs that close buzz cut for him to look right. I don't know. It's like he picked a generic catalog and said, I want that one. Sami, Zayn, and Owens started, which it makes sense, but it doesn't. Like you'd think that they'd want to kind of build up to that, but I get that Roman and Cena are the real stars. So just kind of a weird situation to be in, but I don't see how you would win either way with who you choose to open the match. There was a moment where Owens busts Zayn's nose open. You can see a little bit of blood. So he tags in Roman, and the crowd has absolutely no interest in seeing Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Absolutely no interest. So of course, they don't give the crowd what they want because they're heels. It was kind of interesting, especially considering that they're wanting to build up to Owens and Roman at some point, which will probably be the Royal Rumble match. Can't wait for that. Roman and Sami looked like total goofs throughout the match. To me, it seemed like they never had the upper hand, no matter what they did. Owens and Cena just were one step ahead. Even when Cena was laid out ringside, it seemed like Owens never lost control of the match, and the win was never in doubt. I thought the double 5-knuckle shuffle spot was stupid. So after the 5-knuckle shuffle, Cena hits a FU onto Reigns, and then Owens hits Zayn with the stunner for the win. So, much as predicted, Cena and Owens won. Sami Zayn got pinned because you got to protect Roman. Again, this seems like a tactical mistake on Roman Reigns' part, picking Sami Zayn as a partner, especially after they announced that John Cena was going to be involved. The Uso brothers weren't doing anything, so you could easily have picked one of those two. I would have picked Jay. You could have told Solo Sikoa, hey, you're not wrestling Sheamus. You're helping me beat John Cena and Owens. For him to pick Zayn, just to me doesn't make sense. But he did, and you saw the result. And that was the last SmackDown of 2022. I'd say overall it was a really good show. But after Mania, I think is when Triple H can really start to mold his own vision. And hopefully it doesn't suck. And that is all the time we have this evening. Let us know what you think in the comments below. How'd you like SmackDown? What was your favorite match? Consider hitting subscribe if you want to hear more from us. Until then, Top Guys out.